Sunshine and warmer temperatures are here, and while I want to spend all my time outside, it is not the greatest idea for my fur babies. So today, I'm speaking with the Director of Veterinary Medicine at the Humane Society of Missouri, Dr. Jennifer Pearl, about ways to keep our pets safe this spring and summer. Dr. Pearl, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Of course. Okay, so what would you say is the number one risk our pets and animals face when it gets hot outside?
Well, they do overheat rather easily, especially the dogs. They want to go out and play, and they can seriously overexert themselves and get really hot before they really realize it to stop. So you do have to be a little bit careful with that. We have to remember, they don't perspire like we do to cool themselves off. They literally have to pant, and dissipate heat off of their tongues,
Mhm.
and out of the oral cavity. And if they get overheated, you'll notice that they pant really hard, but then that really heavy, heavy, heavy panting can contribute to body heat because of all that muscle activity. So you just have to be very careful with that.
So, how can pet owners then, spot the signs and maybe symptoms of a heat related illness in their pet?
Yeah, so just like I said, curtailing their activity level is a big one, and making sure that they're not out during the hottest parts of the day. So, morning and evening is better. Remember that pavement gets very hot by itself, and so walking on pavement's probably a no-no, just from contributing to getting overheated, but that can also burn their paw pads.
Mm.
So I have to be careful with that. Once you notice that they're getting kind of worked up and seem like they could get overheated, getting them to a cool area is important. You can wet down their fur to try and cool them off. You can wet down their ear flaps and their paw pads to try and dissipate some heat and just keep them cooled off. Little bits of water to drink as they can. Sometimes if they're panting very heavily, they can't drink a lot, and that's fine. You don't want to make them do it if they're not ready to do it, but
I'm so happy you mentioned the drinking aspect of it because I literally was going to ask, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Same with your dogs and cats. Like you
yeah,
can lead them to the
yeah.
water, but you can't make them drink. So, how can you know that they're staying hydrated on their own? Like how can you make sure they're getting enough water to be hydrated in these warmer temperatures?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, unless your pet is has a chronic illness or they're very aged or very, very young, they generally are very good about keeping themselves hydrated enough. And then just, if you say you're out for a long day, just offering water at regular intervals is appropriate. They're going to take on what they need.
Hmm.
And those that, like I said before, those pets that are at risk, like your older pets, or someone with chronic illness, you have to be just careful with them anyway. I mean, they're just more fragile.
Hmm. And then what are some tips for, mealtime and then outside playtime? I've always used like the 30-minute, like as a kid, like wait 30 minutes before getting in the pool after eating. Is that the same for pets or should we give them longer, shorter amounts of time between mealtime and activity time?
It kind of depends on how much you feed at a time. Like if you're feeding one big meal a day, you're probably going to want to let them have an hour or two to digest that before any heavy activity. I mean, normal light activity is fine, but like really working them or out really running heavy, it's just not a great, in my opinion, not a great idea. If you're feeding smaller meals per day, you don't have to be quite so strict about that. And it depends on your pet too. I mean, sometimes it just is an individual issue. Some have stomachs that can tolerate having a lot of food better than others.
Hmm. Okay, and then finally with, pools, lake season, all the fun stuff that comes with summer and the activities outside. Drowning is a huge concern, for pet owners. So what's the best way to make sure that their pet doesn't accidentally fall in the pool, jump off the boat? What are ways to ensure safety for your pet when it comes to summer activities that involve large bodies of water?
Yeah, I mean, if you're have a lot of concern about that, I mean, obviously understanding their ability to swim is good to know going in. If you've never seen them do it before, some dogs are better than others at it. And some are frightened of the water too, so they get panicky if they fall in. So, getting them fitted with a life vest or, a buoyancy device would be the way to go on that.
Awesome. Dr. Pearl, thank you so much for all this amazing information. We truly appreciate it here at Unscripted. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me on.